What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I'm going to start off with what's going to make you money first. It's the obvious, it's the easy place to go, okay? And the first place for you to go is Cocoro is now listed on a centralized exchange. Now, this community has absolutely been incredible. There's like almost 5,000 holders of the project now. And off the back of that listing, okay, you can see here, it is, it's called Arbit. So it's a small exchange, but it got a spot listing. And then if you look at this, when the entire market is reversing, Cocoro produced a massive candle, of course, listing candle there, but it is absolutely going in the right direction. Currently, at the time of making this video, it's about $16 million market cap. Now let's switch this to market caps, okay? You can see here, 18 million, 20 million. The target is fairly straightforward here, guys. I mean, just think about it. This is not financial advice, but for me, anyway, this is outperforming the market, and there is a reason why. I have talked about that reason. I am fully actively invested. I'm committed to holding this for the foreseeable future, for the long term. And of course, it's at CoinMarketCap as well. If you wanted to check it out, again, the chart is just giving me good vibes. Of course, it's still very, very small, and you are getting a very balanced kind of small number of sales here and there, but Cocoro wants to smash its all-time high, right? And I think, when I say, I genuinely believe this is the one. I believe Cocoro, Black Ship, the community, if you haven't actually seen them, go check them out. Now, some people would say, oh, they got, you know, Twitter's not working. And this is absolutely, I mean, look, there's a base one, okay? There is a base one, and the base one kind of got jealous. And this is actually now called the Black Ship. So check it out. I mean, listen, you know, again, Crypto Twits, I've talked about that previously. And it will be an official announcement, details on the Stock Twits partnership with Cocoro. Guys, this hasn't left the train, by all means. And again, you know, I go back to this. This is absolute insanity, right? Shiba token is consistently, if you go to the Telegram, I mean, this is one of the most insane Telegram channels I've ever been in, ever. Like, literally, this is absolute insanity. Let me just show you this, okay? Because we want to talk about, you know, the 100x opportunities. You've got to talk about it. Look, this is completely and utterly insane. There's about 8,597 followers. This is picking up all the time. Again, people are buying, just seeing this crazy buy here, 1.5 ETH. It is an opportunity of a lifetime, in my opinion. And again, you know, I'm supporting the community. My community is also supporting this community. And again, it's the only dog token, you know, followed by SHIB. Apart from Doge, I don't even know if they follow Nero. But it's the only micro cap meme coin that I can think of that is followed by this team. So again, you know, this is the official, look, Cocoro Black Ship is the Twitter handle. For those of you that think, okay, you know what, they haven't got, you know, they you know, this or that, they have just been, what is this? Yeah, they've just got their blue check mark. And again, this account is followed by SHIB, okay? This account is followed by SHIB. It's fairly new, but I think they will get their, what do you call, they will get their account back. I did post it somewhere, but this is why this Black Ship thing is just incredible, guys. Do not miss this opportunity. Do not complain further down the line when I told you this is just about to smash its all-time high, and it is a growing community. Now, again, you know, that example of owning something that you believe in, I believe Cocoro could do 100 million to start with. Of course, psychological levels along the way will always get idiots out, right? The more idiots that sell, the more this becomes a blue chip. And to be honest, the sooner they sell, the better it is anyway. That's why you've seen some profit taken so the Jeets could get out. All right? Now, on to other business matters. Okay? Let's have a look at this. This is quite interesting.
Is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who has a lot on his plate. It's so good to have you here.
Jake, good morning.
Good to see you. So let's just talk about Moody's downgrading America's AAA credit, citing out-of-control debt, citing growing interest payments on that debt. How concerned are you that this is going to drive interest rates in the U.S. even higher and maybe even drive investment in the U.S. away?
Well, Jake, first of all, the history of rating agencies, by the time they get to a downgrade, everything's already in the market. Larry Summers and I don't agree on everything, but in 2011, the last time, or 2 times ago when he had a downgrade, he poo-pooed it. What I think is important is that President Trump has just come back from this historic Mideast trip, and there's trillions of dollars coming into the U.S., so we are seeing confidence from investors. So I don't put much credence in the Moody's.
Let's turn to trade, because that's obviously where there's been a lot of focus. President Trump just put 150 countries on notice that their tariffs are about to go higher in the next few weeks if they don't reach a trade deal with the U.S. How exactly will you decide what those new tariff rates will be? Will they be what was previously announced on April 2nd, so-called Liberation Day? And when will they actually go into effect?
So, Jake, we have a 90-day pause. There are 18 important trading partners, probably another 20 strong relationships. President Trump has put them on notice that if you do not negotiate in good faith, that you will ratchet back up to your April 2nd level.
So the 90-day pause isn't just China, it's everybody?
No, the 90-day pause was put on about a week after April 2nd.
Oh, that first 90-day pause.
The first 90-day pause.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that with a...
So here, what we're talking about, guys, is the cost of borrowing becomes more expensive for the United States. Now, what are yields, treasuries, and bonds? This is very confusing for people before we continue. Bonds, aka US treasuries, when the US government needs money, it issues bonds. Like, basically, these are IOUs, okay? In the form of treasury bills. These are short-term, mature, under 1 year. So they basically are due for, just 12 months, okay? Treasury notes or T-notes. These are medium term, 2 to 10 year. That's why you hear the 10-year treasury yield or 10-year treasury bonds. And then you've got treasury bonds or the T-bonds, not the T-notes. These are long-term, 10 to 30 years. So in layman's terms, what this means is US debt being bought under different durations or issued under different durations, okay? So basically, a yield is a return. The yield is a return investors to get the lending money to the government by buying these bonds. So you buy the IOU, and then, of course, who are doing this? Foreign companies. So states buy, you may buy Japanese bonds or British bonds or United States. The most profitable, most guaranteed form of bonds are US treasuries. Why? Because the US never defaults on paying these treasuries back. It's a safe place to buy debt. That's why China holds a lot of US treasuries. And of course, with a trade war, dumping those could also make life difficult in terms of the borrowing costs, okay? Now, so a yield, of course, is a return on investment after you buy those IOUs, and it is basically inversely related to if a bond goes up. So if the price of a bond goes down, the yield goes up. If the bond prices go up, then the yields go down. So it's no longer attractive to buy US debt, right? So they go up because of inflation. So why would yields go up? Inflation fears grow. Investors demand more return, and therefore investors sell the bonds, pushing the prices down. And then, of course, the yields go up. More issuance of debt or supply glut, it lowers prices. Then that means, you might as well go and buy debt from, I don't know, a developing nation, right? It doesn't really make it attractive anymore. The Fed raises interest rates, new bonds offer higher returns, lowering demand for the old ones. Okay, I hope you're following me so far. So high yields lead to money printing, okay, indirectly. The government debt becomes more expensive, and this is exactly what's happening right now. Mini sell America trade revive after Moody's downgrade, okay? And why is the Fed quietly buying billions of dollars of bonds in the hope that nobody notices? All right? The US Federal Reserve just pulled off something stealthy. Over the last 4 days and the last few weeks, without fanfare, the Fed vacuumed 43 billion. We talked about this before. That's 8.2 billion in a long-dated 30-year bonds, okay? Now, the argument here is that some of these have already matured, of course. But where do we go from here? In my opinion, this is good for Bitcoin, right? This is excellent for Bitcoin because unsustainable interest payments, which is what Trump was trying to, do the tariffs and bring that down due to the fact that the US had 9 trillion coming in of debt, you enter what's called quantitative easing, or to you and I, money printing. The Fed buys treasuries, newly created money. Okay, quantitative easing begins. It lowers the yield by increasing the demand for these bonds, and it injects liquidity into the system. And that's the magic word, right? We need liquidity. In order for us to take out 20x, 30x, 100x, whatever, there has to be more money sloshing around the system. But why does this matter for crypto and risk assets, you may ask, right? The more liquidity, first of all, it's super bullish for Bitcoin. And then, of course, we look at Bitcoin dominance, altcoin rotation, and equities. And historically, quantitative easing cycles correlate with massive rallies in both crypto and risk assets. Okay? So all you need to know is this. While this game of Bitcoin, Bitcoin's price, we printed a red weekly close. Dominance, USDT dominance is kind of like on the up. Bitcoin dominance is researching, and you can see, let's have a look at the last 1 hour. You can see here we are slightly on a bit of a cool, but it doesn't matter. Bitcoin dominance is still very strong, okay? So the yield, when you hear the yield, basically treasury bonds is a debt instrument issued by the United States government, okay? So don't get it twisted. This is why, the Fed quietly is stepping in. They have to step in. This is good for us. Yield, interest rates return to the interest in terms of hold for when you get an IOU, when you buy an IOU, in return you get an interest. Okay, that rises basically with the yield. That's the yield rises when the prices fall. Okay, high yields signal inflation, riskier, higher government borrowing costs. The government doesn't want to borrow money more expensive. Money printing happens when the Fed buys the bonds, hello, hint, hint, wink, wink, and QE to suppress the yield injection. And then that liquidity then filters down to the likes of our DGen plays. Okay, so what's the real world connection? Okay, so when yields hit unsustainable levels like 5% plus on 30-year bonds, IOUs for you and I, market starts breaking. Then the Fed has to intervene. What do I have on the screen? Fed buying quietly, billions. All right? So the Fed has to intervene. Now, the previous occasions, March 2020, we saw the COVID crash, anomaly, massive QE. 2023 to 2024, UK pension crisis, Bank of England intervened, US followed with easing or announcing the easing. So this is what you need to understand. We are in such a shitty place. The Fed is already buying, right? So I hope that explains a lot of these kind of different, how do you call it? It's not easy for retail. Retail would just say, oh, the price is down today. It's up tomorrow. When alt season. That's it. That's all we think about. But I'm buzzing in a way because what's going on right now is if the cost of the borrowing is going up for the government, then they're going to have to do a bunch of new IOUs, meaning that they are already quietly buying. And if you look at this, just to kind of summarize.
At the top of any US dollar bill, you'll see this. That's because even though the bill may have come from the Treasury, the Federal Reserve is who actually distributes it.
They're the ones that's charged with managing the currency in circulation in our economy.
In other words, they can kind of print money.
Money printer go brr, right? That was a popular meme in 2020 when the Fed was creating money out of thin air.
The Federal Reserve is in many ways in charge of the US economy. As a former chairman once said, they're the economy's chaperone who has ordered the punch bowl removed just when the party was really warming up. Which means they know their decisions, like raising interest rates, aren't always popular.
The Fed is just this poorly understood and really important institution in our country. It's important for people to know what's going on in the economy. They should understand why we have the Fed, why.
Well, we fully understand printed money, and I thought this was absolutely an excellent
Government
piece.
borrowing is the biggest issue in finance today.
Governments around the world are addicted to debt.
The sovereign debt levels globally have just grown exponentially.
In the case of the developed countries, the average ratio of public debt to GDP is now back to where it was in 1945. That's rather striking.
It's politically impossible to solve.
Exploding debt is a real worry. If you're an investor, you start wondering what's going to happen and whether there's going to be debt default.
The music stops when you get a major crisis.
The big question is, at what point does the bond market break?
We just don't want the bond yield to get up to a point where it crushes the economy, because then the bond vigilantes will have taken their vengeance.
A determined central bank can always override any market pressure.
I think bond investors should be terrified.
We just want to get our round and get the fuck out. Listen, I hope you like this video. More content like this coming. If you find it useful, smash a like. And again, we are entering that moment in every cycle when something has to break in a major way. It's been breaking and the money printers will go absolutely nuts. So anyway, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Take care, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.